Hi, welcome to the Arts Workplace, a place for arts administrators to find practical knowledge, honest reflection, and real experience from inside the work. I'm Amy, and let's just get into it. I wanted to make a video today to talk about a question I get asked really frequently. One of my big projects here at the BSO over the last few years has been to create dashboards that are easily shareable, externally shareable, which is not something that's really possible with the dashboard tools that exist inside our CRM ticketing system, Tessitura. I've had some recent experiences. I recently attended the League of American Orchestras conference. I participated in Intix back in January and TLCC last August. I've noticed that in several presentations and discussions where some of my work had been featured, dashboards, charts, things like that, people are really interested in what I'm doing. And I want to know how I'm able to produce those charts, that kind of data, etc., with Tessitura. I get the impression that they've had a lot of difficulty, or maybe they think it's not possible to extract data at the level they need from Tessitura and reapply it somewhere else. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I've done this and the process I've gone through. And I'm not going to go into any deep dives. I will show some really brief examples. But really, I just want to talk about how easy it actually is. Anyone can do it. And you just got to start somewhere. So first, it's really about getting a data set out of your system. And I imagine this is possible for most CRMs and ticketing systems. I'm speaking specifically about Tessitura because that is what I use and where most of my experience is, but I have worked with other systems. In the case of Tessitura, what I start with is I just start with a raw Excel or CSV file with all of the data points in it I could possibly want to build a dashboard around. I go as granular as I possibly can, as long as it's relevant data. And the way I've been actually getting this out of Tessitura is just using Tessitura Analytics and building tables with the columns and data I need. And then I export it and I use that file in other tools that I find to be more helpful for our reporting needs, which currently is Power BI. Power BI is what I am using for reporting right now. But prior to that, for several years, I just had Excel dashboards that I had set up and was using these data extracts to fuel that. So just showing you for a minute how I use Tessitura Analytics and tables in Tessitura Analytics to build a grid of the data I need. Think about it in a tabular format, row by row. What are you looking for? Maybe you want to know about ticket sales. So you want a row for every performance for the last fiscal year or several fiscal years. And what are all the things you'd want to know around that performance? You'd want to know date. You'd want to know venue. You'd want to know any other product classifications, fiscal year, time. What are the details? And then on a sales basis, you'd want to know how many tickets are sold, how many comp tickets, what's the revenue, what is the revenue budget for that? Just brainstorm what are all the various things you'd want to report around and build out a table in analytics that gives you that. In my case, I'm usually looking at fiscal year. I start with the highest level and kind of work my way down the hierarchy. So fiscal year, season type, season, production season, performance date, performance time, performance venue. I layered several data points. And then on the actual metric side, usually paid tickets, comp tickets, total revenue, scanned attendance, budgets. You can calculate other things within Tessitura Analytics, like average ticket price and things like that. So it's easier for you to do it on that end. You can set that up and pull that out your file. In my case, I can also calculate those things on the Power BI side. So I make this file as small as I possibly can, and then derive anything else I need from the base data that I pull from it. Okay, so that's where I start. I just build an Excel file or a CSV. The two paths you can take, other than, of course, building a dashboard Tessitura Analytics, which is beautiful and useful, and I totally recommend it if you haven't gotten into training for it. The downside to using Tessitura Analytics for your dashboards is that only Tessitura users can access it. In my organization, the majority of people are not Tessitura users, and certainly our board members are not. members of our executive team are not, people who actually need regular access to this data. So sharing that out has not been easy, and I've had to come up with these alternate solutions. So the two paths I took, the first one I took, which really anyone could do who has Excel, was building out dashboard tabs in Excel. I would take the raw data. You could take it as it is, but I find it cleaner and easier to update if you convert the data into a table. And then I would add a tab and I would build pivot tables with the various data sets I wanted. And that might sound scary if you've never done one, but if you watch as I'm talking through here, it's actually very easy. You just click the pivot table button. If you took the raw data and you converted it to a table and you gave it a simple name, then all you're doing is clicking the pivot table button, selecting table, and just typing in the name of that table. That's it. Then you've got your pivot table. And then on the right, you've got all your data fields, and you're just selecting, I want a row of production season and paid tickets and this and this. So I would build out various pivot tables that have the data in it I would need. And then I would add additional tabs that would represent my dashboard tabs where the charts were. And I would use some little tricks to just make them a little prettier. And I would place pivot charts on those tabs, so charts that were connected to those pivot tables. And that made them dynamic. And so that also allowed me to add slicers, which, if you don't know the word slicer is a filter. Obviously, I did much more complex work, but in this very simple example, you can see how I set that up. And there are great resources online. I actually learned how to do this from a YouTuber. So a really great resource for building Excel dashboards on YouTube is a channel called My Online Training Hub. This is a woman who is the ultimate Excel expert. She'll teach you anything about Excel, but one thing she does a lot is show people how to really quickly and easily build very beautiful dashboards within an Excel spreadsheet. So if you have no other resources but the ability to export a file from Tessitura and open an Excel spreadsheet, you can do this. You can build beautiful dashboards with just that. But I really wanted a more sophisticated tool. Excel spreadsheets are great, but there were some limitations. There was only so much I could do with the charts, and updating it could be difficult. There was a lot of copying and pasting over data. There was room for error. I wanted something that made file management a little easier because I was personally extracting and combining many, many different files. I'm creating dashboards across many areas, ticketing dashboards, contribution dashboards, audience demographics, information for finance. And so it just got really unwieldy for me to be exporting and copying, pasting this data everywhere. So I wanted a system that would allow me to just save a file to a folder and sync it to a pre-existing dashboard to update it. And I also wanted more sophisticated graphics and dashboard building tools. So I moved on to Power BI, which was available within our Microsoft environment. There is a free version, free as in part of your business suite. I was able to start building out dashboards in that version. I did have to eventually get a license to be able to publish those to the web and more easily share them out. But only I need that license. People accessing it do not. And I think it was like $8 a month. So even then, like if there's just a few people who are builders, those are the only people that need to have a license. And then there's some security settings to enable you to publish these dashboards to the web so that all you need is a web URL to share it with whoever you like. So that is what we did. And again, I'll show you here just really simply. What I've built is much more complex over time, but just to get started, it's really not hard. You just download the Power BI app, open it, start a new dashboard. You simply connect it to an Excel file or a CSV file. It loads the data in that file. The other great thing, the other reason why I wanted to use Power BI is you can pull multiple files into the same dashboard and create relationships between them, which is not something I could do easily in Excel. So in this example, it's just one file, and you can design your charts, your dashboards. There's all kinds of elements. There's all kinds of videos that will help show you do this. So in that case, if you'd like to learn Power BI and how to build beautiful dashboards in Power BI, that's another source. All my learning I have done via YouTube. There's a lot of really experienced people out there sharing content just like I am here. And So my recommendation for that is a channel called How to Power BI. He's great and he will show you how to do these things. So I started out, I had no idea how to use Power BI. I just opened it up last summer when I had some free time. I opened it up and I just started playing around. I connected some files and I built some stuff and I started to see how it worked. And it became really clear really quickly that this was something we could do. So over the course of the end of last August, I converted all of our spreadsheets into Power BI dashboards. And so some of the examples people have seen, particularly at the League of American Orchestras conference recently, is based on me just exporting some tables of data from Tessitura, syncing it to a Power BI dashboard that I've built, and that I go in once a week and update. And the current iterations are based on my early learning. They're not my favorite. I've learned a lot since then, and I'm going to rebuild again. And for this coming season, I'll have an even more beautiful set of dashboards to share. So that's just a really quick overview of how I've done it. The best advice I can give is just to experiment and get started. You're not going to go from nothing to a 6-page glorious dashboard overnight. That takes a lot of time and development, but it really just starts with that first file, that first tool, that first chart. And then once you get the hang of how to do it, you just add, you can iterate, you can build a couple things, share it out, keep adding to it as feedback comes in. So iteration and persistence is the key to getting there. So that is all I have for you today. If this was interesting to you, please subscribe and like my video and check us out on the next one. Thank you.